one of Jesus' more famous statements is, "The truth will set you free." And man, is that ever the truth? There are people, even people who are not, it would sound mean-spirited for me to call them biblically illiterate, but they truly are not very well versed in the Bible, recognize that phrase. And there are people who have been raised in the church and love God, and they are, they're sincere Christians, right? That's the only part of that phrase that they know. We got to go back a little bit into the verse before that. We're in the book of John, and John writes, "To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, 'If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.'" I first read it, in a Sandra Wilson book where she said, "The truth will set you free, but first it probably is going to make you miserable." And of course, you saw I laughed. But it's just a laugh of recognition, because in my life's experience, there's a lot of times where before the truth set me free, it has made me miserable. Well, but Jesus is talking about fundamental truths, bedrock truths that set the principles, that set the premise for how life works and why it works. And he doesn't say something like, you'll just feel it to be true. No. He says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. That's a huge deal. In 1 John 4, we left off last time with the last part of verse 6. This is how we recognize the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood. Let's read the whole verse. "We are from God, and whoever knows God listens to us. But whoever is not from God does not listen to us. This is how we recognize the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood." I think we're in the same ballpark with what Jesus told his disciples about knowing the truth and how the truth will set you free. Go back, though, to what Jesus said. Here, there is a condition that Jesus set for knowing the truth. "If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth." Here, the truth is founded in Jesus' teachings. And the freedom from the truth, by knowing the truth, comes out of holding to his teachings. Now, Jesus said that. We're talking about John 8:31 and 32. It might be worth writing that down and then going back and looking at. Because we have to come to a place in our own lives where we have something solid to stand on, so that we can filter all of the stuff that the world is sending by us at the speed of light, to discern what is true and what is not true. That's what John says. This is how we recognize the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood. It's never not been this way. We are not unique as a generation or as a culture or society, that we struggle. Probably the thing that makes us unique is the volume of information that comes tumbling at us like out of a fire hydrant all the time if you are technologically connected. There's never been a time where so much information is available to so many people 24/7. Well, that's the difference. It has never not been that there has been truth and falsehood coming out as information. And John describes it as the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood. I really wish I had this thing somehow which would give me the ability to sniff out what the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood, the difference between the two, and to know them instantly. I don't. Now, there are people, I'm told, and occasionally they tell me that they have the spirit of discernment and they just know. Okay, I don't have that. I'm not going to say they don't. I'm just declaring I don't have that. I can be fooled. And oh my goodness, one of the difficulties of being a counselor is discerning what is the truth here and what is not the truth. I don't always get it right. I don't. Now, honestly, yeah, there are times when I just have this sense that's absolutely the truth, or no. In fact, I only a few times have said it, but at times I've very often thought it, that I would like to say to a counselee, you're going to have to either tell me the truth or produce a pony because I smell horse poo here. Well, yeah, there are times when I don't know the difference between what is true and what is false. You know what? There are even times when my counselees don't know what the difference is. They think they're telling me the truth when they're not. And yet there are those times when they know they're not telling me the truth. They're afraid. They're hiding from the truth. We all do that. Yeah, we all do. The only one who didn't ever was Jesus. Now, mature Christians, mature followers of Christ, are learning how to say no to that more often and to live more consistently in the truth. And one of the reasons we're doing this is because of what Jesus said in John 8. If you hold to my teaching, you're really my disciples. Hold to my teachings. This is an important idea. There's a difference between me having some interesting, intriguing thoughts about Jesus' teaching and holding to his teaching. There's a difference between me feeling good about how good Jesus was and me holding to his teachings. To hold to somebody's teachings means I hold them of high value. And for those of us who have said yes to Jesus, we simply must hold Jesus' teachings as our highest value. I could easily go down, I already have, started down a bunny trail here, so I'm going to pull the brakes on and just say one of the things that ought to motivate us as believers is a desire to understand Jesus' teaching so that we can embrace it and we can somehow get it in deeply into our life, into the fabric of how we connect with ourselves, with others, with the world, with everything. Now, last time I said that if we're not careful, we can use this idea that John has said that we can know, it is possible for us to know the difference between that we can recognize the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood. We can use that as a weapon if we're not careful. This, in my experience, this happens when I am trying to win a point, not so much when I'm trying to win a soul. And here's where the rub comes. I think much of the time you can win a point if that's what you're into, but you may not win the soul. Do I have to give up the truth in order to win the soul? No. But I do have to make my heart, I have to put my heart in a position where people and connecting them with God's truth is more important than me making a point. The spirit of truth is founded on one of Jesus' primary teachings. It's when he was in the upper room with the disciples on the last night, the night he was betrayed. Jesus said, I think he takes all of the reality of life and compresses it into this one statement, this one idea. He says, love one another as I have loved you. When I love the way Jesus loves, I cannot use the truth as a weapon of mass destruction against people. Now, what I don't want to sound like is just this passive, you just have to let people be people, and my choice is my choice and your choice is your choice because my truth is my truth and your truth is your truth. No, I am way not there. If you know me personally, boy, you probably come up against the idea that is not the way I work with life. I am not passive about the truth. The spirit of truth, one of my highest goals is that my heart and life will be centered on the spirit of truth. And although there are times when I am not 100% correct on being able to recognize the spirit of falsehood, if I have devoted myself, if you devote yourself to recognizing the spirit of truth, when the spirit of falsehood shows up, you stand a much better chance of recognizing it. And instead of this knowing the difference between, instead of it becoming a weapon for me to somehow harm someone else, it becomes a safeguard in my life. The Apostle Paul writes about pulling down strongholds and making every thought captive and bringing it into subjection to Christ. And it's thoughts though, it's not people. We don't capture people for Jesus. We capture thoughts and make them obedient to Christ. In other words, we call out what is false in our own lives and we address them with truth. John indicates in a perhaps mystical way, we can recognize the difference between the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood. And my challenge for each one of us is maybe what we ought to begin with is a prayer that I think comes out of James chapter 1. If anyone lacks wisdom, let them ask of God, who gives to all generously without finding fault, and it will be given to them. That's where I would start. That's where I must start for myself. God, grant me wisdom to recognize the spirit of truth and the spirit of falsehood. And then I have to choose the spirit of truth. How different would our world be? I'm not talking about what happens on Capitol Hill. I'm just talking about what happens on your hill, at your address, at my address. What would happen if followers of Jesus began the day with some kind of prayer that said, God, grant me wisdom to recognize truth and error, and then courage to choose truth? Well, I've already blown past my time, so I'm going to close. I hope I get to connect this way again next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.